Hey there, have you ever thought about how a country can go from being one of the poorest in the world to an economic powerhouse in just a few years? Well, that's exactly what Ethiopia is attempting to do, and they're going all in to make it happen. Ethiopia is a country located in the Horn of Africa, bordered by Sudan, South Sudan, Kenya, Somalia, Eritrea, and Djibouti. With a population of over 115 million people, it's the second most populous country in Africa and one of the poorest. But don't let that fool you. Ethiopia has big plans to become a middle-income country by 2025, and they're taking ambitious steps to achieve it. So, if you're ready to learn more about Ethiopia's bold plan to become a middle-income country, then stick with us. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future videos. Let's get started. First up, let's talk about infrastructure development. Ethiopia is undertaking some truly massive infrastructure projects that are set to transform the landscape and supercharge economic growth. Perhaps the most impressive project is the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, or GERD for short. This is one big dam, folks. We're talking 1.8 miles wide and 550 feet tall. When it's completed, it will be the largest hydropower plant in Africa and the seventh largest in the world, capable of generating a whopping 6,000 megawatts of electricity. That's enough to power the entire country and then some. Of course, a project this size doesn't come without its fair share of controversy. Egypt, downstream from Ethiopia, has raised concerns that the dam will restrict the flow of the Nile River, which they depend on for irrigation and drinking water. Ethiopia, for its part, says that the dam is necessary for its development and that it will manage the flow of the river to minimize any negative impacts on downstream countries. But GERD isn't the only infrastructure project Ethiopia has up its sleeve. The country is also investing heavily in building new roads, railways, airports, and other energy projects. For example, the Ethiopia-Djibouti Railway, which opened in 2016, is a new railway line connecting the Ethiopian capital, Addis Ababa, with the port city of Djibouti. This is a big deal because it provides Ethiopia with direct access to the Red Sea, which is critical for importing and exporting goods. In fact, the railway is expected to increase Ethiopia's trade volume by 3 to 4 times within just a few years. So why all the fuss about infrastructure development? Well, simply put, it's a key ingredient for economic growth. When countries invest in infrastructure, it can lead to lower transportation costs, greater connectivity, and increased productivity. Ethiopia is hoping that by building out its infrastructure, it can attract more investment and create more jobs, which in turn will help lift people out of poverty and build a stronger economy. And the numbers suggest that Ethiopia's strategy is working. For example, in the past decade, Ethiopia has built more than 5,000 kilometers of new roads and 1,800 kilometers of railway, helping to connect remote areas of the country with markets and services. As a result, Ethiopia's GDP has been growing at an average rate of 10% per year, making it one of the fastest-growing economies in the world. Now, let's talk about Ethiopia's agricultural transformation. You might think of Ethiopia as a dusty, rural country with farmers plowing their fields with oxen. But let me tell you, things are changing fast. Ethiopia is making huge strides in transforming its agriculture sector to increase productivity and create value-added products. So, what exactly does that mean? Well, for starters, Ethiopia is focusing on modernizing its agricultural practices. That means using new technologies and techniques to improve crop yields and reduce waste. For example, the country is investing in irrigation systems, better seeds, and improved fertilizers to help farmers get more out of their land. But that's not all. Ethiopia is also investing in processing and value-added products. In other words, they're not just growing crops, they're turning those crops into finished goods that can be sold at higher prices. For example, Ethiopia is now exporting things like coffee, tea, and spices, but they're also developing new products like textiles made from cotton and leather goods made from hides. And here's the thing, this kind of agricultural transformation isn't just happening in Ethiopia. Other countries have gone through similar transformations and seen huge benefits. Take Vietnam, for example. In the 1980s, Vietnam was a poor, agrarian country, much like Ethiopia. But they invested heavily in agricultural modernization and value-added products, and today they're one of the world's leading exporters of rice and coffee. In fact, their agricultural exports have grown by more than 400% in the past 20 years. So, Ethiopia is following in Vietnam's footsteps, and the results are starting to show. In 2020, Ethiopia's agricultural exports totaled over $3 billion, up from just $600 million a decade ago. And the country is aiming to double that figure by 2025. But it's not just about the numbers. By modernizing agriculture and creating value-added products, Ethiopia is also creating jobs and improving the livelihoods of millions of people. It's a win-win situation, the country benefits economically, and people benefit socially. Let's look at Ethiopia's industrialization strategy. Ethiopia's industrialization strategy is part of its ambitious plan to transform its economy and become a middle-income country by 2025. The country has identified manufacturing as a key sector for achieving this goal and has launched several initiatives to attract foreign investors and build up its manufacturing base. One of the most significant initiatives in Ethiopia's industrialization strategy is the establishment of industrial parks. These are special economic zones designed to attract foreign investors by providing them with incentives such as tax breaks, streamlined bureaucratic processes, and access to infrastructure such as power and water. Ethiopia has built several industrial parks across the country, such as the Lamy Bowl Industrial Park of Ethiopia, Kalento Industrial Park of Ethiopia, Hawassa Industrial Park of Ethiopia, Mekelle Industrial Park of Ethiopia, and the Kombolcha Industrial Park Ethiopia, with more under construction. These parks have attracted a range of foreign investors, including global brands like H&M and Calvin Klein. The country's low labor costs, strategic location, and potential for growth have made it an attractive destination for these investors. The potential benefits of industrialization for Ethiopia are significant. By building up its manufacturing base, the country can create new jobs and increase exports, which can help to reduce its dependence on agriculture. It can also provide opportunities for local businesses to supply goods and services to the new factories, creating a multiplier effect on the economy. However, there are also challenges and risks associated with Ethiopia's industrialization strategy. One of the biggest challenges is the lack of skilled labor in the country. While Ethiopia has a large and growing workforce, many workers lack the skills and training needed to work in modern factories. This can make it difficult for companies to find qualified workers, which can slow down the growth of the manufacturing sector. Another challenge is the potential environmental impact of industrialization. Factories can generate pollution and use large amounts of water and energy, which can put a strain on natural resources. Ethiopia will need to find ways to mitigate these impacts and ensure that its industrialization strategy is sustainable in the long term. Despite these challenges, Ethiopia's industrialization strategy has the potential to transform the country's economy and bring significant benefits to its people. By building up its manufacturing base, Ethiopia can create new jobs, increase exports, and reduce poverty. It can also help to diversify the economy and make it more resilient to external shocks. Conclusion. Wow, we've covered a lot of ground today, exploring how Ethiopia is planning to get rich. From massive infrastructure projects to agricultural transformation and industrialization, Ethiopia has set its sights on becoming a middle-income country in the near future. Of course, there are many challenges and risks associated with this ambitious plan, including corruption, political instability, and environmental impacts. However, it's clear that Ethiopia is committed to making this vision a reality, and it will be fascinating to see how the country navigates these obstacles in the years ahead. What do you think about Ethiopia's development strategy? Share your thoughts and questions in the comments below, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button to stay up to date on all the latest news and analysis.